Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody, and happy 4th of July. Welcome to the Daily Herold here on Badlands Media, and I'm your host, John Herold. Love these holiday streams because not many other streamers are streaming. And so this morning, Badlands Daily got featured on the main Rumble page, something that never happens on a normal weekday. So, I'm hoping you guys are out enjoying your holiday with family and friends. I know a lot of people take this opportunity to go to like lake cabins and stuff. I don't have one of those yet, so I'm at home. My mother has the day off, so she's watching my kids for me while I do this. But then the rest of the day, we're gonna be hanging out. We're gonna go, I don't know, probably buy some fireworks. And tonight there will be a Liberty Den. I don't know if I'll be on it yet or not because we'll probably be taking the kids to the big shoot here in town. But I don't know my plans yet. We'll see how tired they are. But there's still plenty to talk about because the news and the headlines never really stop. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, let's get a quick word from our sponsor of today's show, and that is My Fireside. And I love this product. I have one. Welcome to My Fireside, proudly American-made fire pits crafted from 100% heavy gauge stainless steel for unmatched durability. It's fully customizable and with interchangeable plates. They're built to last. Unlike competitors' closed box designs, their fire pits deliver 360 degrees of radiant heat for everyone to enjoy. As a veteran-owned and operated company, they even include a free pocket Declaration of Independence and Constitution with every order. Plus, a portion of each purchase supports the Semper Fi America's Fund, so you can get yours today and experience the warmth of freedom. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/fire. And this product, I bought one before they even became a sponsor because I needed a fire pit here. And I've told the story before, but I absolutely love it. It's the most well put together fire pit you could possibly imagine. Like I don't know how to describe it without underselling it. It's like so sturdy. It's so quality. It's beautiful too. And the interchangeable panels, they have a Badlands one now. They have one that's like 1776. They have the Trump Punisher thing. But they're really, really good product. They're a little spendy. I understand that, but it's more of an investment in your outdoor fire experience because you'll never need another fire pit again, in my opinion. The thing's awesome. We've done a few fires with it now. Absolutely love it, and I'll have that thing for the rest of my life. So it's an American-made company. Like I said, free pocket Declaration of Independence and Constitution. Not many companies doing that. So support the ones that are. But yeah, let's talk. You know what? Today's show, I am going to talk a little bit more about the big beautiful bill because it's going to be signed today. If it might have already been signed this morning, I don't remember. But it passed last night or yesterday, and I'm going to go through a couple of things that are in there, and this will hopefully be the last time I actually discuss what's in the bill, unless more comes out. But I think enough time has passed. I've done some digging, and other media outlets are reporting on what's in there. So we'll talk about it and then move forward. But we got to start with what Doge is doing, and that's nothing. No update on the Doge website. A couple things on the presidential website, which are kind of exciting, kind of cool. Trump put out an executive order about making America beautiful again by improving our national parks. And then he also put out a, what is this one? Yeah, so 2 executive orders, because he also established the President's Make America Beautiful Again Commission to implement the Make America Great Beautiful Again executive order. That's going to be confusing, but it's MABA, Make America Beautiful Again. Coffee in the chat says, "Hey John, I found a hilarious Subaru video for you to share with Zach. I'll put it in your Telegram DMs." Sounds good, man. Let's check that out. Maybe I'll probably pull it up on Monday or something next time I do a stream. Maybe tonight if he's on Liberty Den and I'm on as well. But all right, let's look at a couple of things in the big beautiful bill. Last time we'll do this, but I have quite a few articles on this. Just some interesting things, okay? 7 little-known items in Trump's big agenda bill. Again, there's a lot of good things in the bill. I think it's codifying a lot of Trump's agenda, but it's the other stuff, the things they had to do to get the votes. Like they basically had to, give out handouts and money so that some senators like Lisa Murkowski would get on board with the bill. Okay, but there's some weird random ones in here that are interesting as well. The Space Shuttle Discovery, which is currently parked at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum in Northern Virginia, it's going to be relocated. So we're spending $85 million to move it to Texas because John Cornyn and Ted Cruz thought Houston's role in the space shuttle program should be recognized. I mean, I feel like we could recognize it with like a plaque or something instead of spending $85 million to move a spacecraft to a different state. That's stupid, but whatever. It is what it is. Tax dollars hard at work. This one I thought was kind of funny, a little slap in the face at Elon Musk. Commercial spaceflight companies like Elon Musk's SpaceX will have to pay fees for their launches and reentries. Like we're taxing people who are launching space shuttles. Phased in over 8 years and intended to help the Federal Aviation Administration's Office of Commercial Space Transportation keep up with the industry's rapid growth. So they're trying to slow down private sector development so that our government agency can keep up. Ridiculous. Anyway, the fees will start at 25 cents per pound, capped at $30,000 per launch. And then by 2033, it will be up to $1.50 per pound, capped at $200,000 per launch. I mean, that could add up. I mean, obviously, companies like SpaceX are spending a ton of money on these things anyway already. So this is kind of peanuts to them. But it's just an interesting little tax. They'll tax us in any and every way possible. Bad news for gamblers. I talked about this already before, but I just want to highlight it again. Currently, gamblers can deduct their losses before paying taxes on their winnings. Under Trump's bill, though, they'll be able to deduct just 90% of their losses. So for an example, you win $100,000, but lose $80,000. You'll have profited $20,000, but you'll owe taxes on $28,000. That math doesn't seem fair. And I do like to gamble. I don't do it often. I only really do it like if I'm going to like a Deadwood or Vegas, I guess, but I don't go there very often. Like the once a year I go to Deadwood now for GARTs. That's when I'll gamble. And I don't gamble enough or win enough or lose enough to like do anything on taxes, but still it's ridiculous. Trump is putting money in there to renovate the Kennedy Center. Talked about the gun silencer thing. This is the one I was talking about with Lisa Murkowski. Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski used her leverage as the Senate's deciding vote to extract a series of concessions in the final bill for her home state. Among them, an increase from $10,000 to $50,000 of a tax deduction for whaling-related expenses. I just think that's this. I hate this stuff so much. Like I talked about this yesterday a little bit. I don't believe in the progressive tax system. I don't believe in the tax, like we should be paying taxes at all, but it should be a flat rate for everybody, right? So like if I make $10,000 and you make $20,000, you shouldn't be paying a higher tax rate than me. We should be paying the same tax rate. That's actually fair. But it's not, our system's not like that. And then when you get into stuff like this, depending what industry you're in and what you do for a job and what your expenses are based on that job, you might get more tax deductions, tax breaks. It should be uniform across the board. So I don't like this stuff. We talked about the car buyer's loan deduction yesterday. I think I have a few more here from a couple different websites. Some of them might be duplicate, but this is from Politico. There's a new supersized deduction for business meals, though only for employees at certain Alaskan fishing boats and processing plants, with the measure stipulating that the facilities must be located in the United States north of the 50 degrees north latitude, though not in a metropolitan statistical area. Just so stupid, but this is another Lisa Murkowski thing. There's a $17 billion expansion of a little-known provision that enables venture capitalists to make a fortune tax-free. This is one I tried to find on my own. I couldn't find it. Freedom Fighter in the chat says, Trump is calling for the abolishment of property taxes nationwide. I would absolutely love that. I hope that goes through. Skeptical, but hopeful. There's a $2 billion break important to the rum industry and tangentially Louisiana, said Bill Cassidy. There's a lot of people are basically saying, like, even Republicans, the House Freedom Caucus is upset because there's a lot of pork to buy the key Senate votes that they needed. We already talked about the whaling captains thing. $26 billion to create a new $1,700 credit for people who give to groups providing scholarships for children to attend private school. This is not quite the private school voucher we were hoping for. School choice, right? We haven't really seen any actual movement towards that. Mitch McConnell got a $7 billion tax cut for farmers that allows them to postpone paying some of the capital gains taxes they owe when selling off farmland. You know, I'm all about, like, farmers. You know, I love our farmers. I come from a farming family, and I like seeing things that support them. And we'll get to another story in a little bit that's kind of ruffling some feathers. But I think there should be, like, stuff like this. There should be stipulations. Like, if you're selling it to your kids to keep it in the family, tax-free. Should be tax-free, 100%. I mean, really, if you're selling it, the only one I really would have an issue with is if you're selling it to, like, a business, a big business, or if you're selling it to a foreign country. You shouldn't be allowed to sell it to a foreign country, but I'm okay with, like, there should be penalties for stuff like that. There's also a $1 billion provision allowing spaceports, which the legislation defines as any facility located at or in close proximity to a launch site or reentry site, to sell tax-exempt bonds like airports do. Can I sell tax-exempt bonds to fund the Badlands media compound that I want to build? I doubt it. They got rid of plans to spend $10 billion on a provision pushed by the fitness industry, including the YMCA, that would have allowed people to count gym membership fees as a medical expense in health savings accounts. It's kind of ridiculous it's not in there, but whatever. $3 billion tax break to real estate investment trusts, REITs. And then there's a story out here about the Freedom Caucus, and they basically, the Freedom Caucus in the House, right? Like, we've talked about them quite a bit over the past few years. They're the ones that basically forced McCarthy out. They've been pretty on signal. Well, they put out this 3-page memo that circulated the House that outlined a lot of the issues they have with it and the changes that were made. And again, some of these might be duplicates. I'll try to skip the ones that are, but this is that memo. So the bill, come on now. What's going on here? Why does my computer do this? I was doing this the other night in the Power Hour. The bill violates the House framework of $1 of tax cuts for $1 of spending cuts. And that's accounting for like 2.6 economic growth. I think we're going to see higher growth than that. But anyway, they're claiming, and multiple places out there are claiming, not talking about the growth side, which I think they're underselling, that this is going to increase the deficit by $761 billion without interest and more than $1.3 trillion with interest after changes were made in the base text and a wraparound amendment was adopted. It guts the benefit. Like, they're saying it basically fails to fully terminate Biden's Green New Scam. It cuts the benefit by including a last-minute carve-out for projects that begin construction a year after enactment, which will create a race to do the minimum 5% construction spending to lock in subsidies well past 2027. We talked about that a couple days ago. Gives China a pass to profit off Biden's Green New Scam subsidies because it weakened the strict foreign entity of concern restrictions that the House put on there. It stripped away key protection against illegals getting Medicaid. Under current law, most illegal aliens are not supposed to be on Medicaid, but it is estimated that more than 1.5 million are receiving benefits. Crazy. The Senate stripped out the teeth that penalize states that continue to fund Medicaid for illegal aliens with state dollars by reducing their federal reimbursement rate for able-bodied adults by 10%. And this is how we do get states to enforce this stuff, is by penalizing them by withholding dollars when they're doing stuff for, illegal aliens. PJ17, John, I know the perfect property in Deadwood. I want it too. No, Lindy GM, this is live. I'm live today. I'm live, guys. I hope John's getting triple time. Yeah, I should pay myself overtime. But if I pay myself too much overtime, then I'm going to have to pay taxes, because contrary to advertising, the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime is not accurate anymore. It's some tax on tips, some tax on overtime. Illegal aliens with Trump accounts. The Senate dropped the requirement that at least one of the parents of children obtaining the new Trump accounts, which are the tax incentivized saving accounts, need to have a valid Social Security number. So while children must be citizens under the bill, their parents may now be here illegally. That's weird. I wonder why they would do that. Here's more stuff. They talk about the loaded with pork to buy key Senate votes, the slush fund for Alaskan fishers, lowering thresholds for Alaska for SNAP work requirements. And hey, I love Alaska. I love my people in Alaska. Brad and Abby, awesome. But why are Alaskan fishermen getting benefits that North Dakota fishermen aren't? Valid question. Slashes the 3.5% House tax on remittances, which were meant to curb illegal immigration, and expands the tax to United States citizens. You know, there are really good things in there. You know, more funding for ICE, record funding for ICE, which is great. Record funding for border wall, military stuff having to do with the border. All that stuff's great. But that's like, most of that is preventing people coming in. I know some of the ICE stuff, they are doing raids and trying to get rid of people. But if there are illegals here, why are we allowing things to stay in the bill and that we're paying taxes on that still benefit them? Don't love it. Fails to stop taxpayer-funded sex changes and abortion. The House prohibited the transgender funding for Obamacare, Medicaid, and CHIP dollars. The Senate bill means taxpayers will still be funding transgender surgeries in Medicaid, CHIP, and Obamacare. Furthermore, leadership promised that by passing the OBBBA, One Big Beautiful Bill Act, we would be defunding Planned Parenthood for a decade. The Senate only does it for a year. Why? Like, this is what's crazy. Like, we had the votes. We have the votes, the majority in the Senate, right? And yeah, we had to make concessions, and they changed the bill. And all we needed was a majority. A simple majority is all we needed. Yet some of the stuff that we're seeing that came out of this bill were to get the Republican majority in the Senate on board. So why would they be doing this? Why would the conservative majority in the Senate be allowing some of this bullshit to stay in place? Like, why would they not defund Planned Parenthood in perpetuity instead of only doing it for a year? Like, they changed that from the House bill to the Senate bill. So what's going on here? And none of this is on Trump, by the way. I'm not criticizing Trump. This is the Congress. They're the problem here. And it's disgusting. Continues multi-billion-dollar tax loopholes for foreign tobacco companies. The latest Senate text does not include a House-passed provision that eliminated the double drawback duty, a tax loophole exploited by foreign-owned tobacco companies to the tune of billions of dollars. There's no prohibition on double dipping for, this is like having to do with insurance and stuff, meaning individuals would qualify for this in addition to other compensation funds. Government loves double dipping, don't they? It undermines the Second Amendment protections. They removed the Short Act, which eliminates taxes and registration requirements on suppressors and short-barreled rifle shotguns in the NFA, and the Hearing Protection Act, which removes suppressor regulation from the NFA. The final text does include a provision eliminating the taxes, but the registration will continue to apply. And then we talked about this yesterday, the SALT blue states handout, because the governments with the highest taxes are the blue states, and they're the worst run states. The Senate initially proposed to change the House-passed SALT deduction cap of $40,000 to $10,000, but instead accepted the House cap, however, for only 5 years instead of 10, setting a SALT cliff in 5 years for a future Congress. So they slightly changed it temporarily. And then finally here, in other failures, in total, the Senate gutted the House spending cuts and added new spending to the tune of more than $400 billion. They gutted the House reforms to SNAP. They undermined the House's reforms to student loan programs, slashing the House's endowment tax on woke elite universities, eliminating President Trump's provision to close tax loopholes abused by professional sports team owners, because those people aren't making enough money, massively expanding tax subsidies for semiconductors, despite the president's call to get rid of the CHIPS Act during his address to Congress, in addition to other swampy tax expenditures like a tax break tied to rum imported from U.S. territories and adding tens of billions in new spending for NASA, the Coast Guard, farm programs, and more. And then my last part of this topic, I promise, is talking about Russell Vought, because I love this guy. I think he's great. He's brilliant. He was there in Trump's first term. He's back. He's the fiercely conservative budget chief, and he played a big role in getting people over the line. And so when you see some of the arguments that people like this are making, they're not just posting on social media all the time, all these talking points. Americans overwhelmingly support the bill, and here's the one thing that we polled that shows why they support it. If they actually knew the details, would they? Maybe. But Vought pounded one core message: the bill would reduce the deficit by $1.4 trillion over the decade, a calculation that defines Trump's expiring tax cuts as current policy and not new spending that adds to the deficit. He dismissed the $3.3 trillion debt increase projected by the Congressional Budget Office. To bolster the pitch, Vought walked through ways that the White House could find future spending cuts through executive orders and additional reconciliation packages to fix what he and the House Freedom Caucus members see as a broken appropriations process. 100% a broken appropriations process. That is for sure. With our deficit right now and our debt, we're at $38 trillion of debt. We'll probably be at $40 trillion by the end of this year. Reducing the deficit by $1.4 trillion over a decade, that's not really going to help us pay things off. And I know we speculate all the time. A lot of people like to speculate, myself included, that the plan, the final end game here is at some point for Trump to abolish the Fed, just ignore the debt, whatever. We're done with it. The debt doesn't exist, new monetary system. And that's possible, sure. But also, there's no actual evidence or commentary from Trump, one way or the other. He's never been asked the question that this is his plan. That's his plan. And so while it's a little confirmation bias to feel that way, I would love to see that happen. And all the stuff that we're looking at doesn't even matter really in that scenario. It's possible that we're wrong about that, and he will continue to operate within the current system he is, and we'll just try to pay down our debt as we can with the tariffs and all this other stuff and the growth. And if that's the case, a lot of the reason that people were in support of this bill kind of goes away, because that was one of the main rebuttals I saw. None of this matters. The debt's fake, which I agree, the debt's fake, but Trump's just going to ignore it. It's all going to go. I would love to see that, but what if we're wrong about that? That's a concern to have, guys. Thank you to Badlands Media Fan, who gifted 5 subscriptions to Badlands Media. What else are you guys saying? I got a couple more Rumble rants in here. Curious Cat says, thanks for the podcast. Happy 4th. Happy 4th to you too, and to everybody. Ty, 12 Indie Boy, nice to see you, man, says, JC made me take the day off and go to the zoo with her. That sounds fun. Hope you enjoy Independence Day. Trump said last night, Farmer will be responsible for the illegals they have working. Not a fan. Deport all. I'm going to get to that story. And then Shell H73 says, thank you. Love all of the Badlanders. We got a great crew here. And yeah, let me find that story about the farmers. I think it's this one. And yeah, I mean, if you guys have any other comments on the bill, let me know. Because Richard Rohr, so why are you guys getting your shit twisted because Trump has a plan? We know that they're trying to crash his presidency and he's letting them. Yeah. Yeah, I totally believe and agree that Trump has some plan, right? But I don't know what it is. So I'm not just going to sit back and watch. Richard Rohr, this is another good point. He called Putin yesterday and talked about what? That's an interesting point, because I don't think he posted about what he said on True Social. And normally he always does that. He'll always say, I'm just scrolling his timeline again real quick. He said, I'm going to have a call with him at 10 a.m. And I think that's all we got. And every other time he's called with Putin, he's like, we spoke for 3 hours. This is what we talked about. We talked about this. He's a great guy, all these things. But he didn't do that with this one. That's interesting. The Rochesterian says, hi, just saying hello for the first time in a live chat. Longtime lurker, happy to help with a new unique texter. Happy 4th. Thank you for doing that, guys. Reminder that Rumble is now keeping track of unique chatters. And so if you're a lurker, don't be afraid to say hi in the chat. We appreciate it. Dragonfly 62, because they can amend the BBB come November. I hope so. Kurt 23, John is a negative ninny today. Quick, somebody get him some barbecue and a beer. I would love a beer. But I'm just being realistic, guys. How is it being negative showing the bad things that are in the bill that passed? That's not being negative. I'm not the one who put the stuff in the bill. I'm just pointing it out. It's not my fault. And then Richard Rohr says, nope, John, I'm good watching all the retards screaming Trump screwing us, and then nope. Yeah, I don't think he's screwing us. Like I've said before, he's the only one I know for a fact is basically conducting 5G warfare all the time. So, in my opinion, this bill, because of the bad things in there, exposes Congress, like how bad Congress is. Like people who are actually looking into what's in the bill are not going to come away pleased with some of the things in there. They'll come away pleased with some things, the good things, but they should be upset with the bad things. And it's okay to point out the bad things. Anyway, here's that story. Trump pitches plan allowing farmers to vouch for illegal immigrant workers facing deportation. The new process will put farmers in charge of vouching for law-abiding workers who have served them for years. The Trump administration plans to implement a process. I kind of already read that part. The proposed process was shared by President Donald Trump during an event at the Iowa State Fairgrounds on Thursday night, kicking off a year of patriotic celebrations meant to honor the nation's 250th birthday. Trump said the new plan will take place in coordination with the Department of Homeland Security and that legislation for the measure is currently being drafted. While speaking Thursday evening in Iowa, they've had been working them for years. So let me find the actual clip here. Hold for processing. I'll get this pulled up. Trump speech, Iowa. I think I gotta find. I just want to find the full remarks. Here we go. And then let me search the transcript here. Okay, let's do this.
I think that's going to be good because we want all the criminals out. Everybody agrees that we're finding the criminals, the murderers, the drug dealers. We're getting them the hell out of here. But the farmers, some of the farmers, many of you sitting right here, I have 4 friends right in the 5th row. But some of the farmers, they've had people working for them for years. And we're going to do something. We're working with Christie. And we're going to do something that we're going to sort of put the farmers in charge. And if a farmer's been with one of these people that work so hard, they bend over all day. We don't have too many people can do that, but they work very hard and they know them very well. And some of the farmers are literally, cry when they see this happen. If a farmer is willing to vouch for these people in some way, Christy, I think we're going to have to just say that's going to be good, right? We're going to be good with it because we don't want to do it where we take all of the workers off the farms. We want the farms to do great like they're doing right now. So Christy Norm has done a fantastic job, and Tom Holman. And we're working on legislation right now. Susie, right? We're working on legislation right now where farmers, look, they know better. They work with them for years. You had cases where, not here, but just even over the years, where people have worked on a farm for 14, 15 years, and they get thrown out pretty viciously, and we can't do it. We got to work with the farmers and people that have hotels and leisure properties too. We're going to work with them, and we're going to work very strong and smart, and we're going to put you in charge. We're going to make you responsible, and I think that that's going to make a lot of people happy. Now, serious radical right people who I
don't love it. I understand the thought process behind it, but I don't love it. I think we have too high of a homeless population in this country. We have too many veterans that are out of work and homeless in this country that are struggling, that don't have work. I would much rather see them be supported than illegal aliens who, again, are not in this country legally be allowed to stay to help the farmers. Like, I don't agree with the argument that, you know, if we get rid of the illegal aliens, nobody's going to do those jobs. There are people in this country that will farm, guys. There are people who do that work every day, all day long. And we can get more. I guarantee it. What I want to see is like people, businesses, I've said this before, I think on a basis of conspiracies, businesses who are employing illegal aliens, if you get caught doing that, there should be a penalty for that. And then there should be some sort of tax credit or deduction or whatever, since we have to pay taxes, allegedly. There should be some sort of credit for people who are hiring American workers. That's how it should be. Instead of like allowing certain illegal aliens just because they've been here long, like you shouldn't be grandfathered in just for how long you've been illegal in the country. You're still illegal. The fact that you've been here longer, if in my opinion, makes it worse. You've been here even longer. But yeah, so they're going to be crafting legislation on that. We'll see what comes of it. I want to read the actual details of the bill when it comes out. President Trump stated early on he is willing. This is from Babufio for a $2 rant. President Trump stated early on he's willing to work with working illegals. No compromise for criminal element. Nothing really new here. I agree. Like, I understand that point. I understand the argument. Like, get rid of the criminals, but I want to get rid of all the illegal aliens, regardless of if they're working or not. And yes, Mrs. Bright, I am live. There's already laws and $3,000 fine for hiring illegals. I've heard that. Don't see it often enforced. And thank you to, I think it was Spetzel who sent the clip over. Trump did comment on his call with Putin.
We had a call. It was a pretty long call. We talked about a lot of things, including Iran. And we also talked about, as you know, the war with Ukraine. And I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy.
Progress with him on a deal with Ukraine? Do you feel like you made any progress with him?
No, I didn't make any progress with him today at all.
You don't hear Trump sound like that when he's talking about Putin or any foreign leader. Like, very rarely. Like, he almost sounds defeated. You know what I mean? Like, normally he's he praises Putin, says how brilliant he is, how hardworking he is, and all these things. But he's just like, he kind of, it didn't go well. And didn't make one comment, good or negative, about Putin. He didn't really like say anything about him. Just didn't go well, and he's not happy with the war. Which it's a different rhetoric than you've heard from, or we typically hear from Trump. But speaking of Russia, Russia becomes the first country to recognize Afghanistan's Taliban regime. Will China now follow? Russia's become the first country, blah, blah, blah. Russia's foreign ministry announced late on Thursday that it had received official credentials from Gul Hassan Hassan, a newly appointed ambassador from the acting government of the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan to Russia. Mr. Hassan met with the Taliban's acting foreign affairs minister. The foreign ministry hailed the official recognition of the Afghan government and said it will allow productive bilateral cooperation between the Taliban and Moscow. You know, the one thing I would dispute about this is the Trump administration had the Doha Agreement, which recognized the Taliban. That was a pretty official agreement. And a lot of the agreement that they had in place has been carried out under the Biden administration. So, but I think it is notable that Russia is now officially recognizing them. Some more foreign stuff here. Saudi defense minister meets Trump at White House for high-level talks on Iran, Gaza, and regional peace. And this is not Mohammed bin Salman. This is his brother, Khalid bin Salman. He's the Saudi defense minister. They held a confidential meeting. It's not too confidential because we just found out about it. We're reading about it with President Trump and top U.S. officials at the White House on Thursday, with the talks focused on efforts to de-escalate tensions with Iran and the war in Gaza, secure the release of hostages. Known as KBS and the younger brother of Crown Prince Mohammed, they discussed pathways to peace in the Middle East, including preliminary steps toward potential normalization with Israel, according to sources familiar with the meeting. Sources also noted that the U.S. and Saudi Arabia are nearing completion of a sweeping defense and trade agreement. Both sides are said to be aligned on all key issues, signaling strengthened bilateral ties. Love those ties. My favorite kind of bow tie, or my favorite kind of ties other than bow ties, are bilateral ties. House passes Trump's big beautiful bill, sent it to Trump's desk. I probably should have started the entire thing on that. I don't know why I had that in the spot of my tabs. Anyway, BRICS to launch an investment guarantee fund backed by the New Development Bank. The alliance is preparing to unveil a new investment guarantee fund backed by the NDB aimed at reducing financing costs and stimulating investment in developing countries, according to Reuters, citing two sources familiar with the plans. I was just going to say, it sounds like the World Bank, and that's basically what it's modeled after. It's a mechanism designed to counter growing global investment uncertainty. The initiative is expected to be referenced in the group's joint statement at next week's summit in Rio de Janeiro. Officials anticipate that each dollar guaranteed by the New Development Bank could leverage between $5 and $10 in private sector investment. Technical groundwork for the initiative is set to wrap up by year end, with the first projects expected to launch in 2026. Ooh, new case bicameral ties. I like that. I like that a lot. See what else you guys are saying in the chat. B Peach 11888. I'm a lurker. Happy Independence Day. Welcome to the chat. Okay, what else we got? Yeah, no real interesting like true social posts. Oh, I thought this was a good idea.
To bring back our people together through the power of sports, America 250 will also host a brand new first of its kind youth athletes. It's a competition known as the Patriot Games, and it features top high school athletes from all 50 states. It's going to be great. And this phenomenal patriotic sporting event will be nationally televised, and it will be led by our great Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's really doing it good.
The Patriot Games. Love that. Then speaking of events to mark the 250th celebration, Trump is throwing it out. They're going to host a UFC fight at the White House. I kind of want to go to that. But next year it can become the political battleground. The political battleground could be transformed into a ring with the world's top fighters facing off in an Ultimate Fighting Championship about to mark America's 250th birthday. Mr. Trump unveiled the plans at a rally in Iowa Thursday, telling supporters the event would take place in front of up to 25,000 people. We're going to have a UFC fight on the grounds of the White House. We have a lot of land there. Dana is going to do it, Mr. Trump said. So yeah, he's putting out all sorts of info on the 250th celebration. And I love this stuff. I think this is some bullshit here, but going to show you a lot of the news agencies are running with this narrative that Trump's approval rating is lower than this point in his first term. And it's like way down. It's a Yahoo poll that YouGov put together of apparently like 1,600 U.S. adults conducted between June 26th and 30th that his approval rating stands at 40%. And I don't buy it at all, considering all the wins. The ceasefire in Iran, the economic stuff, none of the fear-mongering with the economy that the media has been putting out regarding the tariffs and the uncertainty and all that stuff, none of that's happened. You're seeing the job growth numbers come in, which are fantastic. Inflation prices are steadily coming down. The rate of change is coming down. It's been all good so far for Trump, even though, in my opinion, a lot of the major promises that he's given have to this point yet to be implemented. That's what's crazy. So when you see these approval ratings, always BS. It's kind of nuts that the day after he passes the thing he's been wanting, and a majority of his supporters are wanting, whether or not they've read the bill, whatever, that they're coming out with this poll that his approval number is down. It's just ridiculous. Back to the UFC kind of fighting circle. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was arrested by ICE, faces expedited deportation. This guy just fought, I'm pretty sure, Logan Paul. I want to find that article. Well, whatever. Anyway, on July 2nd, ICE agents detained 39-year-old former WBC middleweight champion outside his Studio City residence. The DHS designated Chavez Jr. removable on June 27th and has begun expedited removal under the Trump administration's enforcement priorities. They issued an active arrest warrant in 2023 accusing him of organized crime involvement and trafficking firearms, ammunition, and explosives. You know what? I should have Mrs. Bright here in the chat. Remind me to text your husband. I should have him on, Mr. Bright, Burning Bright, to talk about this because he comes from that, fighting world background. I'm curious what their reaction is over this stuff. So I should have him on next week to talk about the story. Thought this was kind of interesting. Samsung is delaying a $44 billion Texas chip fab. Sources say completion halted because there are no customers. Samsung needs chip buyers for it to start running its Texas chip fab. This is kind of crazy. They're reportedly delaying the launch of its Taylor, Texas fab, citing difficulties in securing customers for its output. Sources told Nikkei Asia that even if the South Korean chipmaker brings in the necessary equipment to produce chips at the new plant, the company cannot do anything with them due to the lack of demand. Aside from that, the original planned process node for the Taylor plants is no longer aligned with current demand, highlighting the rapid pace of semiconductor technology. Chipmakers started construction on the Taylor fab in 2022 with an initial investment of $17 billion. By 2024, the company decided to increase this to $44 billion with the addition of another advanced fab and expanded R&D operations. This move is supported by a roughly $6.6 billion CHIPS Act subsidy, which was finalized in December last year, despite multiple delays and setbacks. So we gave $6.6 billion taxpayer dollars to this fab, whatever, and they're not even going to finish their product because they can't find buyers. Like, what kind of investment is that? They state that construction is progressing, but documents from the company show that the site is almost 92% complete as of March 2024. Work on the site was originally scheduled to finish the following month, but regulatory filings indicate that this was moved to October. It's crazy. It was initially planned that the fab would produce chips for the 4nm process node, but this has since been upgraded to 2nm to compete with the TSMC and Intel. That would suck. It's just surprising. Like you build this $44 billion facility to produce a microchip or a product, whatever, and then you have to nobody wants to buy our product. So not only are we out the money we invested or the loans we secured, but us taxpayers are out that money as well. And then maybe got like two more things for you here. Then we'll get you out of here. We got this from Trump yesterday, one of the comments he made.
Mr. President, a incident of a Republican congressman was gunned down last night in Washington, D.C. Do you think it's time for Congress to take back?
I can't even hear what she's asking. But this has to do with Congress, the power to govern Washington, D.C.
I think that D.C. has to become a very safe place, and we're not going to let anything bad happen.
We need to pass a bill. They should have included in the big, beautiful bill a law banning interviews next to airplanes or helicopters. I just got to stop playing these videos, even though he says some interesting stuff when he's standing next to airplanes and helicopters. But it's so darn loud, you can't even hear it. Drives me nuts. This is another funny thing he said.
Good. First Lady, isn't it terrible? You're saying good night, First Lady, my darling. Because it reminds me that I'm president. That's why. Now I said, First Lady, it's terrible. Good.
This is so funny. And then, okay, I do have one more thing I'll show you. This is something he said yesterday. We'll talk about it, obviously, on the Power Hour. But I thought this was kind of a biggie. Oops.
And one of them is going to be really great. It's called Space Force because that was my baby. Remember, they wanted to terminate it. First year of Biden's administration, they wanted to terminate Space Force, and the military wouldn't let them. And it's turned out to be one of the most important there is. I was very proud of that. Space Force.
Kind of crazy. I wonder what he means, that the military wouldn't let the Biden administration terminate Space Force. That just doesn't seem logical. There's got to be an explanation for that. Anyway, guys, hit that thumbs up for me if you don't mind. Let me see if we got any other rants that came through. Yeah, Babufio again has another rant that came in high school. It was a traditional summer job to work farms. I don't like it either, but there it is. I agree. But I think I got all the rest of the rants throughout the show. Liberty Den tonight. There will be a show. I think Ash is going to be on it. I think she's the only one I know for sure is going to be on it. But I have seen a couple other people say they'll be there. I'm going to do my best to get there. It really just depends on when I get the kids to bed. And I do want to take them to the fireworks show here in town. It gets dark like pretty darn late here in Bismarck, North Dakota. Like sunset is like 9:30. And by the time it's like dark enough for the fireworks, it's like after 10. By the time the fireworks show is done, and I get them home, 11 o'clock, 11:30 Central Time. And the show is typically not always on by then or towards the end of it. So we'll see. But yeah, Ash will be on. We'll have a few others. We'll still have the show tonight. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in here on the 4th. I hope you guys have a great 4th of July yourselves. Have some fun with your friends and family. Hit that thumbs up. Try to red pill people today if they're newbies. Share the Badlands love. Show them a link. Show them a show. And we'll see you maybe tonight, but if not tonight, for sure tomorrow on the Devolution Power Hour. And then I'll be back again next week at 1 p.m. Eastern right here on the Daily Herald. You guys have a great rest of your day and a great weekend.
0. 1. Read all about it. 2. 3. Let's get started.
I forgot something. Get your Deadwood tickets, guys. Your GART tickets. I'm gonna play the GART promo and then I'm gonna play the outro. If you haven't yet, get your GART tickets. It's 6 weeks away, but we do have to give them final numbers so we can purchase the meals and everything and pay for the meals and stuff. So if you plan on getting your tickets, I would try to get on them sooner rather than later. I don't know what that cutoff day is, but here's the GART promo and then I'll play the outro. Happy 4th. Have a good weekend.
Coming August 14th to 17th, Badlands Media returns to Deadwood, South Dakota for the 9th stop of the Great American Restoration Tour. Come for family, friends, fun, and a fucking good time. Hear truth bombs that hit harder than B2s on an Iran nuke site from Burning Bright, Chris Paul, CanCon, Red Pill 78, Brad Nabby, Ash, Ghost, Jordan Sather, John Herold, whoever that is, and more. Plus, Alpha might make you a sandwich. Deadwood is a gorgeous town in the middle of the Black Hills of South Dakota. If you've never been, you need to see it. Plus, you might be lucky enough to witness some terrible karaoke from your favorite Badlanders. Go to badlandsmedia.tv/events for weekend or one-day tickets. And if you can't make it in person, virtual tickets are available too. Watch from the comfort of your couch with tons of behind-the-scenes content and get access to an exclusive GART chat. That's badlandsmedia.tv/events. Be there or be there online. It'll be recorded.
0. 1. Read all about it. 2. 3. Let's get started.
That's what she said.
Oh, that's real good.
Why they stopping me?